The waves were calm that night, too calm, the kind of silence that hides something dangerous beneath it. Captain Elias stood on the quarterdeck of the Steadfast, staring at the glassy black water. The moon painted silver lines across the ocean's skin, but he could feel it, the pull beneath, the quiet current that promised to drag everything off course. He whispered to himself, almost bitterly, "Discipline is the rudder of a ship, and I used to sail without one." Lightning flickered far in the distance, not from a storm above, but from the storm within. How do you hold your course when every current wants to drag you away? That's the question. And if you've ever promised yourself change, only to drift back into old habits, then Elias's story is yours too.
Before he was a captain, before the Steadfast bore his name across oceans, Elias was just another sailor, reckless, impulsive, chasing the next adventure and running from the last failure. He had strength, skill, and charm enough to win the respect of any crew, but no discipline to keep it. He'd swear off rum, then be drunk by sundown. He'd vow to save his wages, only to gamble them away on the next port. He'd make promises to his captain, to his men, to himself, and break them as easily as waves break upon rocks. The sea was patient. It watched him drift from ship to ship, job to job, always starting strong, always ending the same. He wanted greatness, but he never stayed the course long enough to earn it. That's the truth about most who lose discipline. They think willpower is enough. But the ocean doesn't bow to willpower. It bows to consistency. And Elias had none.
There was one voyage that changed everything. He was 23, serving under Captain Moreau, a man known for precision. A captain who ran his ship like a clock, every minute accounted for, every sailor expected to act without hesitation. Elias hated it. He thought discipline was a cage, that freedom meant doing what you wanted when you wanted it. Why must every rope be coiled the same way, he'd grumble to his crewmates. Because the sea punishes carelessness, they'd answer, but he didn't listen. One night, while anchored off the coast of Madagascar, Elias was on watch duty. Bored, he wandered from his post. The stars were bright, the breeze warm, and a bottle of rum whispered his name from below deck. He told himself it would only be one sip, one moment. But by dawn, a storm had rolled in without warning, and the ship's anchor had dragged. When Elias stumbled back to the deck, half drunk and half asleep, the Providence was already crashing against the reefs. Men screamed, wood splintered, the sails tore like paper in the wind. They survived, barely, but Captain Moreau lost half his cargo and 2 of his men, and Elias lost his place on that ship forever.
He remembered the look Moreau gave him, not rage, not hatred, but disappointment deeper than any storm could deliver. "You think freedom is doing what you please," the captain had said, "but freedom is earned through discipline. Without it, you're just drifting." Those words haunted Elias for years. He drifted again. New ships, new promises, same failures. He'd try to change. He'd wake before dawn, clean the decks, train harder, plan better, and for a week, it would work. Then one bad night, one moment of weakness, and he'd slip back. Sound familiar? That's the cycle most people live in. The endless loop of effort, collapse, guilt, and restart. Why can't you stay disciplined? Because discipline isn't built on motivation. It's built on identity. Elias didn't see himself as a captain yet. He still saw himself as a drifter. And a drifter will always return to drifting no matter how many times he swears to change course.
Years later, he found himself on a small merchant ship during a voyage to the Southern Isles. Their captain had fallen ill, and leadership fell to whoever dared take it. Elias hesitated. He'd been here before, offered trust only to break it. But something inside him shifted. Maybe it was the memory of Moreau's words. Maybe it was the faces of the crew, looking to him not as a drifter, but as something more. That night, as the sea began to rise again and wind howled against the sails, Elias made a vow, not to be perfect, not to be fearless, but to be consistent. He stood at the helm through every wave, every hour. He gave orders calmly, repaired sails, rationed supplies, corrected mistakes. For 3 days and nights the storm tested them, but Elias did not falter. And when the skies finally cleared, the men called him Captain. Not because of rank, but because of responsibility. Because he'd done what few can. He'd mastered himself. That's when he understood the truth. Discipline isn't about control. It's about commitment. You don't lose discipline because you're weak. You lose it because you've forgotten why you started.
Years later, as Captain of the Steadfast, Elias would train his crew differently. He didn't demand perfection, he demanded presence. Every rope you tie, every deck you scrub, it's not for me, he'd tell them. It's for the sailor you're becoming. He watched young men who once complained and slacked off grow into leaders, not because they were shouted into discipline, but because they anchored their actions to meaning. Elias had learned that discipline fails when it's fueled by guilt or pressure, but when it's driven by purpose, it endures. The sea had taught him that the hardest storms aren't outside of you, they're inside. The urge to quit, to delay, to drift, that's the real enemy. And the only way to defeat it is to steer even when the wind fights you. Elias stands again on the deck, older now, wiser, as dawn rises over the calm horizon. He runs a calloused hand over the ship's wheel, the same wheel that once guided him through chaos. He smiles softly and whispers, "Waves don't drown captains. Fear does." Discipline isn't the chain that binds you. It's the compass that frees you. He looks to the horizon, steady, unshaken, because he finally understands that discipline isn't about being perfect every day. It's about returning to the helm every time you drift. And that's why most people fail. Not because they lack strength, but because they stop steering when the current pulls hardest. So if you've lost your way, if you've drifted too far, it's time to turn the wheel again. You haven't failed. You've just been tested. Anchor yourself in chaos. Chart your own course. And remember, even Poseidon bows to perseverance. If this story found you at the right time, subscribe to Anchor in Chaos, where we sail through storms not to escape them, but to learn from them.